Hello, my name is James Bowden. I have an MA in history from American Military University, and I'm a third year PhD in history student at Liberty University. For this research, I chose to concentrate on the topic of the First Mesopotamian Campaign during World War I under the generalship of Major General Sir Charles Townsend. What drew me to this research and what I found most significant about the research is that the historiography is almost entirely in favor of relieving Charles Townsend of all responsibility for the outcome of the campaign, which was a failure, and blaming Sir John Nixon, who was the commander in chief of the theater, blaming him for all of the failure. For the research that I conducted, I principally relied on text. And for those texts, I was principally relying on F.J. Moberly and his account of the campaign in Mesopotamia, which was the official British record of the campaign. I also examined the personal writings of Major General Sir Charles Townsend and his account, My Campaign in Mesopotamia. For the purposes of comparing and contrasting the outcome of the campaigns, both the first Mesopotamian campaign and that conducted in Palestine, I used the source A Brief Record of the Advance of the Egyptian Expeditionary Force in Palestine. I used this source again for comparison purposes in order to understand the fundamental differences. Based upon this research, my conclusion was that Sir Charles Townsend had failed to set up proper lines of communication. These lines of communication were stretched dangerously thin due to the lack of proper or necessary men and material to support the line of communication, especially for a distance of 390 miles. Further, Sir Charles Townsend had also relied on the Tigris River, which was an unreliable means of communication as it was an oscillating body of water due to the season. It would oscillate between very deep and very shallow, and also would go from being very wide to very narrow. And so, by depending upon this avenue for its lines of communication, as well as not having the proper amount of men, he was not able to bring up the necessary supplies and resources in order to defeat the Ottoman forces, which eventually made an effective stand at the city of Ctesiphon and resulted in Sir Charles Townsend being unable to continue the battle into a second day, and he was forced into a retreat and ultimately a siege which lasted 5 months. I do believe that this research does have continued value, and that continuing to advance this thesis of the responsibility of Sir Charles Townsend in Mesopotamia will actually continue to help highlight the continuing needs for solid logistics in any conflict, especially conflicts which originate in the Middle East. And I believe that further research into understanding the chain of command and the process by which Townsend was enabled to advance from his initial position in Basra and up to near Baghdad would be very fruitful for additional historical understanding. Thank you.